If you like good-looking cars and Microsoft Teams technology, you are not going to want to miss Commsverse this year. Commsverse 2022, it's being held at Mercedes-Benz World again. It was a fantastic venue last year. It's going to be a fantastic venue again this year. And so I thought I'd come down to my local Mercedes-Benz dealership, and rather than just you watching me talk about Commsverse, you can watch some lovely looking cars to give you a flavour of what that's going to be like at this conference. So Commsverse 2022 this year is being billed as the hybrid Teams conference, the Microsoft Teams hybrid conference. So you can expect it to cover things like calling and contacts. You can expect it to cover deploying and managing teams, extending and developing teams, meetings and collaboration, strategy and user adoption, as well as other things as well. Those are just the kind of really high level topics you can expect it to cover. The real focus is on both teams and teams in a hybrid workplace as well. So it's all happening in June 29th and 30th. There are 60 sessions across 5 different rooms, so plenty of different choice. Those 5 rooms, they're not going to kind of definitely be split into those different areas I just spoke about, but you can expect to find, I think, in every time slot, you're going to find something that roughly matches the sort of thing you're looking for. Keynote speaker is Jason Bradbury. So if you've not heard of him, he is one of the leading keynote speakers in the technology field. If you've ever watched the Gadget Show in the UK, that's him. So yeah, he's going to be doing the keynote, so that's really going to be really interesting and really good to see, like a really kind of high quality keynote speaker as well, and an interesting one as well from outside like a immediate technology field, but also someone who's really steeped in technology, understands tech, so that should be really interesting as well. There are loads of really good quality speakers. There are MVPs, there are people from Microsoft speaking, there's going to be some international speakers as well. Michael Tressler is architect, he works at Microsoft, he's an architect in the Microsoft 365 Centre of Excellence. Tom Arbuthnot, Louise Fries, Bill Ez, Dr. Bill Ez, Zoe Wilson, Christian Buckley, loads and loads of others as well. Too many to name really, but all of those worth mentioning, some top tier speakers. We've spoken about where it is. It's going to be at Mercedes-Benz World in Weybridge. That is home to the super famous Brooklands Motor Racing Circuit. It's a fantastic venue, lots to see and do. Let's talk about tickets. So tickets, right now you can still get the early bird pricing on tickets. So that is £65 per ticket. You can go and get that online. There's also a free option. The £65 a ticket option is if you're attending in person. Now, if you just want to do online sessions, you can do that. It's free to register, all sessions on demand. But you will miss out on the full Commsverse experience. You will miss out on all of the food and drink, you will miss out on the social events, you will miss out on the competitions, all of the things that make in-person conferences really good. And actually Commsverse does a really good in-person conference. So you don't want to miss it if it's going to be anything like last year. And again, the choice of venue makes it really good because there's all these interesting things to do at the venue, as well as all the things that are happening on top at the conference. That's all the practical information about Commsverse, but to really understand the why of this conference and why it's so special, I sat down with Commsverse founder Mark Vale to talk it all through, and I'll put that footage in here. So Mark, thanks for joining me. You must be pretty busy. We're pretty close to Commsverse. What I'd like to know is, out of all the conferences out there that people could go to, what makes Commsverse unique?
Well, first of all, thanks for having us on to give this opportunity. So for those who don't know what Commsverse is, we're a community-based conference. We focus completely on Microsoft Teams. And what kind of makes us unique really is that we try and create a friendly atmosphere for like-minded people to come and share their experience and knowledge with people in the same sphere as themselves, So, other conferences are typically, in general terms, quite wide on technology. So if we look at other events in our space, they're covering multiple UC platforms, and they get quite a wide demographic of people, and trying to find those really important conversations that you want to learn from other people's experiences. That you're trying to find a needle in a haystack, so to speak. But at least when you come to Commsverse, you're coming for a reason, and that reason is you're invested in Microsoft Teams, and so is everybody else who's there.
And this year specifically, I think you've chosen to put the word hybrid in the tagline. The tagline says, we're inviting you to the Microsoft Teams Hybrid Work Conference.
Yeah.
Why that change from previous years?
Well, pandemic necessitated people's working habits, and there was a lot of say noise or suggestion in the sort of social sphere that working from home is the only model people should adopt. But the reality is that it's going to be somewhat in between. There's this fight between should you come back to the office, should you stay at home, all that type of stuff. And, it's no real different to what it was before pandemic, really. We still had hybrid working at that point. It was just less of a focus on it. And a lot of organizations were typically office-based only. We never really thought about a hybrid working model, or work from home, modern workplace, whatever it was called beforehand. Pandemic has forced that change upon them, and now it's a bigger thing in the workplace.
Yeah.
There's value in coming to the office. I'm in the office today, working a couple of hours from home. So there's value coming to an office, and I think that is going to be the future. There's going to be a case of you can't really put a number on it. You can't say it's going to be 2 days in the office or 3 days in the office a week or whatever at home. It's needs based. It's means tested now.
Yeah, totally.
And we need the technology to catch up and support us with that.
Yep. One thing I thought was really interesting is you're charging for attendance and tickets. You're charging a price to attend. There's two things I thought were interesting actually. The first is that the amount you're charging is quite a lot lower than some others, but also that you're charging a tool, but really that you have a free option. So you have the option to virtually attend, but if you have that free model, you still get access to all the sessions and still all on demand. So I guess you must be quite confident in that in-person experience and it being, so much more on top of just the content that it is worth people attending in person, or they're going to get, so much more by attending in person versus getting the content online.
Yeah, so like I say, we challenge the UK market a little bit. If we look at other conferences in the UK, it's typically free for entry, and that's fine. You get the hundreds and the thousands worth of sign-ups, but the drop-off is quite substantial. The people who actually turn out. We chose a charging model even before COVID because we wanted people to commit to us and to want to turn up and want to be there. So that's firstly, and as a thank you or commitment back to those people who paid for a ticket, we wanted to put on an event that you get more than what you would have at a free event. So if you think of the events that are in Excel in London, for instance, you get yourself there, you go and do the exhibition walk, you go and watch a few sessions or what have you, but then food, drink, etc., it's all additional cost, personal cost to yourself and what have you. There's not much to do other than walk around vendor stands and go to sessions. Whereas Commsverse is different. We provide the food and drink included in that, and we do bring in some entertainment as well. So it's not just sessions, it's not just exhibition floor walking. We create networking opportunities for people to come and let their hair down, drop their guard, have a few drinks with each other, maybe get involved in some games like Formula One simulators or even Jedi Knight training this year we've got planned. It's just real sort of like team building. Let's just break it down and just be human. And
so it's more than just the sessions. It's more than it's a whole kind of getting everyone together, getting everyone talking to each other.
We wanted to try and create an experience, a destination that people who have similar interests could come and be themselves with people that are just like them. And sort of safe space to communicate and to socialize first and foremost.
Cool.
But in terms of the free ticket model, yes, we do have an online version. Last year we joined every session up to a Teams meeting in a bit of a hybrid mix. That was more driven from, we were just coming out, well, I say coming out of pandemic, we were coming out of the restrictions, and there was that trepidation that people, were having, like, it's too much of a risk for me and stuff like that, which is fine. There's no problem in that. But we still wanted to give them the content ability to watch it. We're doing it differently this year, and that's mainly down to some of the technical challenges we faced last year and people power. A lot of moving parts to do a hybrid event to that degree, and because we do this on a voluntary basis, we haven't got the time or the resources really to really put the best effort in to making sure that the online hybrid experience is right. We did a good shot last year. There were some technical challenges that in the first morning we were trying to iron out, and that ruined some experiences for some online people. Sorry about that. It's just didn't really have time to test it. It was kind of like,
I think everyone was learning as you went. It was the first time, and
yeah. But all that detracted us away from the actual physical event, and we couldn't spend the time on some of the other little niggles and what have you going on in the actual venue. So this year we're trying to be not as creative and a bit more sort of controlled in what we do. So our online offering this year is we're going to have one room live streamed, so that our main room, so where the keynote is, where we invested the most in terms of AV, we're having that live streamed on YouTube for both days. So any session that's happening in that room, you'll be able to watch for free, even without sign up or anything like that. We'll just have it on our webpage front end. We do have some exclusive online content during the breaks, like the morning, afternoon breaks, lunchtime. So we have some online only content just for those gaps, so that it doesn't appear to be a massive, hour and a half of silence for online participants. But other sessions we're recording locally at the event. So we're basically capturing screen content and audio and capturing that to the local hard drive. And the intention is that we'll try and get those on demand, those sessions on demand as quickly as possible to YouTube and to the platform as well, so that people who are just joining for the content get to watch that, while it's still hot off the press sort of thing. And in terms of the question around, well, I must be pretty confident that people will turn up versus content. Well, if I have a look at, I spent a lot of time studying what people really achieve and want. So, so we did our 2020 event, we did virtually because everybody had to, that was our only choice. And we got to understand that market really. And it got to the point where, the virtual event space is just saturated of, like, there's an event every week, and, there are other teams' virtual events that are around that were always virtual events before pandemic, and we didn't really want to step on their toes. But it makes the content available, right? So it makes no sense for us to charge for that content, because you could just wait a couple of weeks for the next conference to come along that's online, and speakers will do the rounds of the conference rounds and broadly present similar or the same session at every event for the year. And if it's online, it's available to everyone. It's not like, if I go and speak down south, I'm speaking to the southern demographic about my session. If I go up north, I'm speaking to a northern one. So I'm spreading the message based on my traveling. It's universally available.
Yeah.
Secondly, it's being a community event, we rely on people, like yourself, who are speaking, who volunteer the content. So you volunteer the topic, you volunteer putting the presentation together, practicing, and it's your IP at the end of the day. So we don't want to be seen to make a profit out of that. So we think that should be free, and available to anybody. It's not like pay for on demand type thing, because that would change our relationship with people like yourself. It would be more commercial one, and we don't have the budget for it, and we're not in it for that really. We're in it for sharing. But then people who want the content, who are generally going to sign up online, we're probably never going to be an in-person attendee to us, for myriad of reasons. It could be distance, it could be personal reasons, for risk, COVID and what have you. And that's
And there's
that's
a whole
all
bunch
fine,
of people who can't
you know.
afford to, or
That's
their
it,
work
you
won't
know.
send them, or like
Can't get time off, whatever reason. They probably weren't going to be at the event anyway. And at least offering an on-demand version is giving them the opportunity to see a little bit about what we do, getting them to give access to the content, and also our kickback from that is that it makes Commsverse brand wider known, better known in the community and further afield.
Yeah, that makes sense. Is there one thing that you're really excited for, like most excited for this year?
Day off. It's hard to put a finger on one thing. I'm looking forward to the Jedi Knight training. I think that's going to be pretty cool. We've got some martial arts people coming in, and you'd be able to learn some moves and.
Is there like a risk waiver I need to sign?
Probably. All fully insured and all that type of stuff. But it'll be good fun. I'm looking forward to see how that goes down.
Yeah, sounds really good.
We have some tricks up our sleeve for the actual in-person event. I'm looking forward to seeing how they go down.
Sounds intriguing and exciting.
Can't give anything away because it will spoil it.
Okay.
But yeah, it should raise some eyebrows, make a few people laugh maybe.
That sounds cool.
So,
that sounds cool.
But mostly I think it's just looking forward to doing it the second time and seeing if the event has grown from last year.
Yeah, I think actually your timing in the year is kind of worked out really well, because you were last year you were like the first big conference in person, certainly that I attended. I think a lot of people attended. And now this year, like certainly in the UK, that's how it's kind of lined up with the restrictions easing and everything like that. Kind of going into summer as well. I think this is going to be an event where lots of people are going to be seeing each other for the first time, maybe for a year since last Commsverse. And there's definitely people I haven't seen since last Commsverse, but maybe also for a few years if they weren't, around last year. And how does that make you feel as like the host of that event, going into this?
It's actually a warm, comforting feeling, really, because the way I look at it is that we can't get it wrong.
Yeah.
Yes. So we kind of set a precedent for what's going to follow, right? So it's a bit of a comfort thing for us in that. But yeah, it's genuinely I enjoy watching people have smiles on their faces and and have those interactions. I like people watching. And what was interesting last year was we had all the restrictions and stuff lifted, but we still had the keep your distance type thing, the distance seating, and please wear your mask and take a test and all that type of stuff. And people were coming in to the venue masked on, looking all a bit weary, and should I shake your hand? Should I say hello?
None of us knew what to do. We'd been locked up for a year. We literally didn't know how to interact with each other.
Yeah. And then within probably an hour, people were just I say back to normal. Masks were coming off. Whether that's a good or bad thing, I'll leave that up to people to decide. But genuinely, they were getting stuck in, and you could see the smiles coming on their faces, and that nervousness and trepidation, disappeared. And that was the biggest thing out of last year. I think we actually got people back to speak to each other face to face and just have a laugh.
Yeah, it was really good, and it's going to be really good again. So I know how much work goes into conferences. So all the best in the run up, and enjoy that. Once this all starts and you can't change anything, then you can just relax and watch people and enjoy it and all the rest of it. But yeah, massive best of luck. Hope it goes really well, and see you at Commsverse, I guess.
Yeah, see you there, Tom.
See you. Thanks.
Take care.
Go to commsverse.com, go and register your ticket, and I will see you there. And finally, a really big thank you to everyone at the Mercedes dealership at Norwich for being understanding about me showing up and wandering around with a camera. Thanks.